Motion passes. This time we would open up public comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Arnie Enoch. Can you hear me?
Hang on,
Hello?
hang on, we don't actually have a speaker speaking, so hang on, Mr. Dina. I don't know if we're gonna be able to hear you. Let me see if I can get him. Okay, we're gonna go to, we have other public speakers' comments first, so we're gonna go to them and see if we can figure this out, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, who wants to go first out of all this crew?
Is there anybody else?
We have a couple, yeah.
We're gonna speak, but go ahead.
No, you guys go ahead. I always speak last.
Flip a coin. Flip a coin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Vince Ratchford. I represent Ward 3, St. Charles City Council. So again, thank you for the service you provide to our community. And I appreciate the chance to speak to you today about the proposed signal at Fairgrounds and Friedens. City staff, as you'll see later, has done a great job preparing the data to be presented, but I'd like to speak on a more personal level. This intersection is surrounded by residential areas. There's many great amenities available in all directions. However, this 4-lane collector road effectively cuts off these neighborhoods from each other and from the amenities that are available. If those north of Friedens want to get to the Katy Trail with the aid of a sidewalk, they have to cross a 4-lane road that is conducive to high speed by many drivers. It's just too easy to speed there. Those south of Friedens must do the same if they want to visit Boat Brothers Park, a great little neighborhood park. Additionally, and most importantly to me, the homes around this intersection are filled with young families, young drivers, and soon-to-be drivers. So when my 16-year-old leaves the house, he knows he has to be on high alert at that intersection. But it's still scary when he leaves the house and he has to go through that intersection to visit friends just off Friedens, just a few blocks away. So that's why I think a signal here would be a great addition. For these reasons and many others, I'd ask for you to approve funding for this signal and to do so on an accelerated timeline. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. I didn't point it out earlier, but each public comment will have 3 minutes. You had extra time. Good job. Thanks.
Vince yields his time to John Schneider. I'm at 3 Sturbridge Court in St. Charles in the neighborhood there. I gave you all a handout. It's worth taking a look at as I talk about this. You know, the biggest thing to me is I like to rely on data as much as I can to try to help you all make good decisions. So there's nearly 4,000 vehicles that come over the hill that Vince spoke about, and many of them are at very high speed. So on the back of the page, I gave you a couple of pictures. The top picture is where the stop position is on Fairgrounds Road heading into Friedens. If you look to your right, you can't see the roadway. People are coming 50 plus miles an hour over that. If you're doing 40, it only takes 5 seconds to hit that intersection. When you're doing 50, 55, some doing 60, it's a few seconds. No one could walk across that safely, especially at night. But if you roll up even, that's the bottom picture, you still can't see that hill. And there's a tree in the way, so it makes it extra special. So I encourage you to think about that, and then look at the accident information on the bottom of the front page. We've had 4 accidents. There's something very common about this. The volume is up late in the afternoons. We're seeing accidents, 4 in the last 4 months, and more than likely with volumes going up, it's going to get worse. So we ask you to really seriously think about this, help with the funding, help keep people alive, because sooner or later it's going to happen, and we're all going to feel really bad about that. So thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. You didn't even need his time.
Hey, come on.
Board, hello. My name is Brian Castile. I live on Vera Place in Montclair Crossing. Been working with Vince and John recently over the past several weeks, as well as the board of directors of the HOAs for the surrounding neighborhoods of Tallbridge, Estates of Tallbridge, my neighborhood, Montclair Crossing, Hidden Oaks, and the Enclaves of Montclair, which is actually where I used to live, which is an was developed in the mid-2000s. I bring that up because I used to live in a townhouse where the back of it faced this particular intersection. I have since moved across Friedens into my current neighborhood and home, where I'm also, the back of my house is facing this intersection. I love St. Charles. I've been here since 2018. Over the past several weeks, like I said, myself, as well as about 10 to 12 other HOA board of directors have gone door to door to our neighbors, explaining our proposition to petition you as a board to want to get a safety traffic signal at this intersection. We have collected over 400 signatures, which we're very proud of. Everyone was in a resounding favor to have this traffic signal installed. I know it's expensive, but the last thing that we want as a community is to have a fatal accident happen, which to my understanding from the statistics, I don't think that's happened yet. Because of my proximity to this intersection, I see every accident that happens. I have pictures, and it's frankly just, I don't want to see anymore.
Sorry about that.
Because of the fire station that's being built at this intersection, I am now purposely, as a resident in proximity to this intersection, I'm avoiding trying to go through there. If I am going, I guess that would be south on Fairgrounds to then make a left or east onto Friedens, I recently, actually, just the other day, I had to wait about 5 minutes to make sure that a safety aspect was clear for me to make the turn, as well as just, again, avoiding. There's a lot of construction, obviously, with the firehouse. That's understandable. But we just highly, highly encourage you. All the surrounding communities are in complete favor of it. We really would like to see a traffic signal going at this intersection. So, thank you.
And we did receive that, the signatures and all that type thing.
Good.
Yep. Good. Thank you. Next.
Hello, my name's Tony Bethman. I'm here to talk about the County Road Board project down in River Point, which I've heard has not even been funded yet. On the application that the city turned in on the River Point for the River Point development back in 2020, it states public financing on the application. It says to list all public financing. The city said that current funding for the project includes $5 million from governor's cost share, $1 million from state, $1 million from the Corps, and we're seeking other applications from United States build grant, which did not get approved, and a couple other things. It goes on to say on the application, the applicant further acknowledges that if it should choose to pursue other public financing, that choice terminates this application and any approval of it. I've been trying for 3 years to find out what kind of money is in this project. The city does not have a piece of paper. If you ask them how much money is going to be spent on River Point, it has been spent on River Point, there is no answer. There was a $6.2 million cost reimbursement agreement that just happened last year. $6.2 million. Clayco already bought the property. We're still spending money on the property we don't own. It was Prop P funds for that one. There's another $2.5 million for something else. $573,000 to destroy a wetland. At least $300,000 to move the Katy Trail. Here's the latest. I couldn't believe it when I heard it last month, back in April. The city just gave River Point, on top of everything, $7 million from the County Road Board. It's going to be about $40-something million. It might be $50 million. We don't know. All we're trying to do is find where the money went. $2.5 million in COVID relief funds just went to that project. And they had to write down on the application for the COVID funds that this project would not have happened without these American Recovery Act funds. An additional $2.5 million of all the things we could spend money on, and now we got County Road Board supporting a project that's got COVID relief funds for $2.5 million. All I'm asking for, ask Elman, ask the council, please have them turn in a real application of what is actually going on. Phase 3 down there, which is half of the project, is phase 3. They're both 18 acres. There's 0 businesses. It's an apartment complex and townhomes. There's not going to be one business. So they started with the Building standards. The masonry requirement is 100%. They kicked it down to 0% for that project down there. They're supposed to have water
15 seconds.
they're supposed to have water retention. They're just dumping their stormwater right into the river. Signage, they're gonna let them put signs on, rooftop mounted signs, which have never happened before. Please, we want an application. We want to see where the money is going and where the money has gone so far. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Maybe we can go back to Mr. Sinaki. Yeah, he's just trying to come up.
Artie, you can speak now.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
We can now, yes?
Okay, great. This is Arnie A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. And as the road board goes through the various projects that have been submitted by the municipalities and the county highway department, I would ask that we look at it from an all-inclusive road project, comprehensive approach. That we look at the total project. That we look at safety enhancements and safety improvements, Americans with Disabilities Act for sidewalk and trails, bike lane if possible, because we're trying to get some biking, especially out in the O'Fallon area and other municipalities, and working with the regional Greenway Park District. Also taking into consideration water drainage, erosion control, lighting for traffic safety and pedestrians. And I'm asking that we look at doing the necessary work, not adding unnecessary projects this year. We need to ride out the economy and ride out the increases in materials and supplies. Hopefully they start coming down this year. Boschertown road funding increase of $845,000 is highway robbery and ludicrous from the contractor. It's very suspicious, and I have a lot of questions surrounding that huge increase. How can we as a county road board and taxpayers justify this huge increase of $422,000 for the county and $422,000 for the city? You know, when a contractor puts out a budget, they should really stand behind their commitment unless there's justifiable information and documents to prove that it wasn't their fault in the bidding process. And then the final issue that I'd like to address is project applications are due at a certain point. And so I want to ask the road board, how can project applications be submitted after the filing deadline? In the case of the city of St. Charles, they submitted a additional road project on HIMSAF at the beginning of May. In my opinion, this is unfair to the process and to the other municipalities and the county highway department, and I think that it really needs to be addressed. Either we're going to have rules and regulations and we're going to abide by them, or it's just going to be a free-for-all and anybody can submit a project any time of the year. So I really believe that there needs to be some confines and constraints, and that we need to follow the road board policies, and I would ask that you reject this application unless it's justifiably an emergency, and tell the city of St. Charles that they need to submit it in the next upcoming application year of 2024. Or I'm sorry, 2025. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any additional public comment at this time? Hearing none, public comment will be closed. We'll move on to item number 5, which is the 2024-26 TIP application presentations. And we will start with the City of Dardenne Prairie.
Okay, so let's just go down and move forward. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Tom Weiss, representing the city of Dardenne Prairie. Everybody hear me okay? So we had, we submitted 2 applications, and Hanley Road, just for construction implementation only, as suggested by the road board staff, county staff, and Post Road. Hanley Road is worn out. We're asking to do a mill and overlay restriping, and we're asking for construction money only. The city's been authorized by St. Charles County to start the engineering that is going to commence soon. It's right in front of City Hall. This stretch goes under the bridge there. It crosses over or under 364. I think it's busier than the ADT shows, but it's a very busy connection between Old Highway N, Town Square, and Feisey Road. And many of you, I'm sure, have traveled that area. It's very nice, but the condition of the pavement has deteriorated. We have City Hall Park, we have ICD Church, we have Wentzville School District Early Childhood Center, Prairieville Elementary around the corner. So there's a lot of facilities, and it's a nice connection road. The condition, obviously, they never get better. So we're here to share that with you. Again, mill overlay, we would plan on using we've been recently using fiber in most of our asphalt on our projects that Weiss Design Group has been using. It's been a proven quantity, and it is holding up much better than standard asphalt. We believe well worth it. So that was in the original grant that we applied for to East West Gateway for the construction funds. And that would be part of this, hopefully to keep or prevent the cracks from coming back as quick as possible. Obviously, we can't control the base with the money that we're asking for the construction, but we can certainly help with the control of cracking with the surface. Share the road signs, try to upgrade that. The concrete is not damaged very much. We want to catch it before it gets to that point. ADA accessibility is already been built into the project under previous construction. So again, it's a mill and overlay restriping, and basically reestablishing, putting some bike markings on there, and reestablishing a good pavement. To the north, we have New Hanley Road that has been constructed, and that was recently completed with SDP and road board money. So now we will have a good connection from north of Feisey all the way down to Town Square. In this case, I have before the council tonight, I leave here and go to the Garden Prairie City meeting, and we're going to discuss and get approval, at least a consensus approval, to change from, because we were not awarded the federal grant, working with county staff, we've amended the request to show that there is no federal participation in this, and that the city now is going to have to increase their match from quite a bit, actually, up to the 20%. And I expect a positive result from the council tonight. But, obviously, we'll share that with staff as of tomorrow morning. And then from there, based on your decision, if you allow us to proceed under this manner, then I'm sure there'll be a formal agreement that will be voted on by the city board. Post Road, quite a bit more of a problem. Many of you, I'm sure, have driven this connection. Last year we asked for the whole amount. This year, and we were tentatively awarded based on East West Gateway approval, the first phase. Basically halfway, just short of halfway, to the second Post Meadow entrance. Keep in mind, this road is, the residents on the right side of where the project location arrow is, those are City of O'Fallon residents. So the city is sponsoring this on behalf of Darden Prairie to help with this connection, a major connection. As of right now, we don't have participation from the City of O'Fallon, even though the eastern half of the road is their primary residence. And it's the old style, no curb and gutter, no shoulders, no stormwater control, no bike pedestrian movement, some sight distance issues. That sight distance you see on the right will not be taken up until we get to phase 2, but it does show, this is kind of showing the northern end of the project. The other big thing that we have is down at the bottom, you'll see a realigned intersection with Technology Drive. So we've submitted to MoDOT on behalf of the city. They wrote a letter of support of the grant. We have a less than ideal turning movement, so if you're sitting on Post Road trying to get onto Technology, you're straining in both directions and basically looking behind you to see if cars are coming on Technology heading towards Bryan Road. I use it almost every day that I go to city meetings and daily to Darden Prairie because I live in Weldon Spring. It is very dangerous. So part of this project, the first phase, is to improve that. And here's what I'm talking about. The existing road on the top part of this slide, Post Road comes in at probably about a 45-degree angle with Technology. Obviously, we're going to come in at a 90. That requires, and we put some money in there for right-of-way. You never know exactly how much, but we've took a hard look at how much we're going to have to acquire on this triangle to get this sweeping curve to realign with Post Road. So this is integral. Theoretically, MoDOT has looked at this. Again, as you all know, these are concept plans. They are with thought. However, this alignment will be subject to, because Technology Drive is a MoDOT road. But we have been in cooperation. They support the project. But this is a key component. And then, of course, running down with, there's a new development being proposed as we speak on that corner, on the west side of that corner. A mixed-use type development, and so we've already asked them for their right-of-way of their portion, but their property really doesn't start till a little farther north. So this piece here, we haven't had discussions with this owner, but depending on your all decision, we really can't start negotiation, as you know, because we don't have a project yet. We don't have federal funding. But again, this is a key component of the first phase of this project. And we did line out storm sewers. We do have on the west side a 10-foot wide trail dedicated, again, along the whole west side. In order to build that, we have, if you see on the bottom part of the slide, an extension of a box culvert, which is, I guess there's a pointer on here, but if you can see that, it's an extension of the box culvert in order to get everything, the lanes built and then the trail. And again, that's our stopping point. Where you saw that previous picture, where it starts to go up the hill, we'll have a temporary transition until phase 2 comes about. So that is our northern project limits. To the north of there, as you know, another couple thousand feet is Town Square Boulevard, Old Highway N, ICD. Again, big time connection to the heart of Darden Prairie Just so happens that the eastern side is O'Fallon, but you know our city limits are like a horseshoe, so. This is the breakdown of the cost. Obviously, this project, was on the list of approved projects or listed projects. So, the federal share is involved. We asked for the most federal share that we felt where we would still be able to get the project started. This project is really a critical project for the area. There's a lot of danger in that curve, and it's another good connection. Maybe alleviates some traffic off of Bryan Road, et cetera. So there's the share breakdown. And we were able to score good points because of this breakdown, and made the city understand that they were going to have to kick in more on this as well. Questions?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you much.
We'll go on to the city of Lake St. Louis.
Hi, Chairman and Board. Thanks for allowing us to present our projects today. My name's Terry Rigdon. I'm with the City of Lake St. Louis. We got 2 projects that we submitted. I already got moved forward on my slides here somehow. The 2 projects is for the Lake St. Louis Boulevard South Phase 2 and Orf Road Connector Design. The first thing I kind of wanted to do was go over a little bit of overview that this will be for relatable to both projects that we're submitting. This is the ADTs for 2021 on Lake St. Louis Boulevard. You can see it's about 10,000 a day down there. That's about a 60% increase from 2014. We've been tracking the numbers, so it's a significant increase and it continues to increase. We had a study done 2 years ago. They came back and with a 250 ADT of roughly 21,000, 23,000 down Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And this is with a future connector. The green line is a future Hawk Ridge Trail extension. They suggested signals at these locations, possibly at the 2050 build out. Initially probably would be the one at Fremont Road, which is the far north one, and then Orf Road at the farthest south. Here's the project location for Phase 2. It's basically it's about a half mile of roadway. Last year, we applied for Phase 1, which goes from the highway to where this one starts. We were approved for both county and federal funding and MoDOT cost share on that project. So this is a continuation of that project. This is Phase 2. Phase 3 will take off at the bottom of the circle there and continue down pretty close to Highway N, where we'll have to figure out how to tie into the county's project probably when Highway N is upgraded. The project's proposing adding, it's basically right now a 3-lane roadway, so 2 lanes with a center lane. The project's preserving a 5-lane ultimate corridor, providing bicycles and pedestrian facilities. That'd be a 6-foot sidewalk on the west side and a 10-foot bicycle facilities on the east side, and then adding medians for traffic calming, and the speed through there is pretty high. It's pretty wide open. The bike and pedal facilities will be placed at the point of the 5-year build out, so they won't have to be reconstructed in the future. And the storm sewers will be built, I'll show you on the next phase kind of, but so that they can just be connected onto and extended out when the next 2 lanes come in the future. Here's the beginning of the project. Like I said, I can show you the 3 lanes, the 6-foot bike path on the one side, the 10-foot on the other. You continues down. I got the green in the medians. Those locations obviously are be dependent on the design engineer and need to facilitate the access management. Here's the typical section for the roadway in the 3-lane configuration. So this stuff on the right would be the stuff built this year, this time, with the future being the other 2 lanes that are in the dashed. Total cost for the project is approximately $3.4 million. We did receive $2.3 million in STP fundings, or recommended fundings. We requested $877,000 for the county road board and $220,000 for the city match portion. The breakdown, if you want to see it's here with the years. I think I covered it in the last slide. Obviously, the years on this will be dependent on the federal schedule, so they'll vary a little bit because of that schedule. The second project is the Orf Road Connector design, and project location is, you can see it there, it's off between Hawk Ridge Trail and Orf Road. I put this slide back on just to show another piece of the information here. The bottom green line going left to right, that's Orf Road. It can now end, I got a pointer on this, or it ends at the, just to the right side of the bottom signal there. So there's a line that goes up and then the line that curves up. So it ends down there past the last development there on your right. It's dead-ended. It got dead-ended when they put Deerbergs in. Part of this study suggested that the way that this works with the traffic signal and the optimum traffic signal location is we needed to put one of these connectors in that they're showing off of Orf Road, which is that bottom line left to right. The first line, which I believe is F, that goes straight up, we can't do that one because there's already development there. We can do one farther to the right there, which is what I'm asking for here. I'll just go to the next. So Orf Road, again, the bottom road is Orf Road. Here's what we're calling right now the Orf Road connector. We're just asking for the design funds on it right now, so we can apply for an application either next year or the year after. We can go ahead and start acquiring that right away. I think this is getting ready to develop. We've had some interest in it. Everything else to the west of this or to your left has been developed. This is the only piece left between here and shops. The only way we can get this in there, and it actually makes sense really well. Connects Orf Road, and then to the south connects into Ridgeway Avenue, which then goes to Highway N. Again, a little bit bigger picture here. The green line that I guess goes up and to the left, that's the future Hawk Ridge extension, which is what we see it being built out when that develops. The Orf Road connector, again, with the roundabout down here to tie Orf and the existing Orf Road together with a signal at Orf and Lake St. Louis Boulevard at the bottom left there. That continues on Orf down to Dwello Road. I have to apply for a functional reclassification on this because the area in blue, which is the existing road, lost its classification when it was dead-ended. A new road doesn't have a classification, so I'm applying for this road to convert it to a major collector status. And so I'm doing that now. I've been on the phone with them. Actually, we think we're going to reduce the Hawk Ridge Trail from a minor collector, or from a major to a minor, and then make this the major collector, which will help us on future funding projects with the feds. So increases our scoring a little bit. And it makes sense because this is going to be the next corridor. Here's the functional classification I was just discussing. You can see that Orf Road is the orange line. You can see Highway N, which is the green. Kind of left, the orange left and right line, that's Orf Road between Dwello and Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And then you can see that there's no classification on the roads to the right of that. So I'm reclassifying that and then doing that when planning on doing the Orf Road connector. Then we would phase in replacing Orf Road to Lake St. Louis Boulevard, and then working on, it's probably going to be a two-state phase project between Lake St. Louis Boulevard and Orf Road, or Dwello Road, to improve Orf Road. Design costs $200,000 to design and the Orf Road connector. We was asking for an 80-20 split on that. That's what I have. Any questions? The big thing on the design is the time frame. We're trying to keep things moving because Orf Road's getting busier. There's a lot of development going on down there, so we kind of we need to get on that corridor because it's going to be at least a 4-year cycle of projects to be fundable.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Move on to the City of New Melly.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my project here. My name is Nathan Burley. I'm on behalf of the City of New Melly. We have one project we're presenting this afternoon. It is the Forestell Road improvements. Now, I explained throughout the slides why it says no trail there. We'll get to that. First of all, so the project limits here, we're going to start just a little northwest of the Veterans Foreign Wars property, and then we're going to go all the way to Forestell Road, or I'm sorry, Highway Z, and it's approximately just a little over a mile. So existing conditions of this road are pretty bad. There is very eroded and poor drainage on the side of the roadways. There is currently no shoulders of any kind except for like a little stretch by a bridge crossing further down this road. Now there is no sidewalks. However, we were able to obtain funding from East West Gateway here recently for a 10-foot wide trail, which is why after working with them and the county staff, we got to split these projects up to help us along. And this would just be the, I guess, the second phase of it, sort of thing. So we're just presenting just the roadway itself this time. And then a Pacer rating is 3.25, so very, very bad condition here. Breaking up this into sections of improvements here, we're starting by the VFW hall here. So we're going to pick up at the county line and then resurface the road with asphalt and add some 2.5-foot wide curb and gutters through there, and add a shoulder as well, and incorporate new storm pipes for any driveway crossings. Moving further up is more of the same, so we're going to widen the road out to make it uniform. I have typical sections here coming up. Right now the existing lane widths are all over the place, so we want to make that uniform and get a good shoulder in there and some curb and gutter to help the water drainage as well. And also incorporate new driveway approaches as needed, along with storm culverts that go underneath it. Moving further along, we get close to the Fiddlesticks subdivision here, so there is some right-of-way dedication that we will need to obtain in order to get this corridor through there in a uniform manner. And again, we're widening the roadway and doing asphalt resurfacing, mill and overlay, and curb and gutter. And then finally reaching Highway Z, it's more of the same thing, widening the road, curb and gutter, driveway approaches, things of that nature. This is the typical sections. As you can see on the left here, that's the existing conditions. They're roughly 11-foot wide lanes. They vary all over the place. There is no shoulder, and the ditches are very eroded, and it causes poor drainage. So on the right is our proposed. We want to make them uniform 12-foot lanes all the way through and have some roadway separation between vehicles and the pedestrians with a 4-foot wide shoulder and protection with a 2.5-foot wide curb and gutter. And then that on the right, on the left here, there's a big space. That's where the new proposed trail is going to go. It's going to be right up against the back of the curb and the gutter, but that's a separate project. So performance measures here. So existing conditions is on the left there. Now at the bottom here, this is the overall goal, what the city is after, how they want it to look. This is actually from Weldon Spring. We did a project for them. Similar to what we're trying to do for New Melly here. The 10-foot wide trail was already approved, and then they're after the roadway there, how that looks with the 12-foot lanes, 4-foot shoulder there, and the 2.5-foot curb and gutter. really, they're after just healthier living and all-inclusive kind of connectivity to the inner city and the county park that's actually at the end of the Forestell Road here. And they want just, separation between motorists and pedestrians. Unfortunately, Forestell Road is a heavily traveled road by dump trucks from the quarry. So it makes it very dangerous for pedestrians trying to utilize that to try to get down to the county park, because there is no shoulder, there's no way for them to not walk on the side of the road. So we're trying to rectify that and get that cleaned up for them, and also improve the stormwater runoff and erosion hazards that are presented there currently. For financial plan, the cost breakdown, so 80-20 split, overall project's a little over 2.6 million. So I'm just requesting 2.1 from the county, and then the city will do 537,000. For scheduling, so as of right now, we're scheduled to start here at the end of this year in October, and then with a completion date in 2027 in March for construction. So overall, we're looking for connectivity within the city and the park, and healthier living and safety overall. And I appreciate your time. Do you guys have any questions?
Parks Department going to develop the campground?
I'm sorry?
Is the Parks Department going to develop the campground still?
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay, do you have any timeline on that?
Oh, no, I do not, no. Not at this time.
Did you apply for federal fundings for the road?
We tried to last round, we did not receive it, so this round we are not. I know there's an upcoming one. I did think it just opened here at the end of April, so we're going to try for that.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
City of St. Charles?
Right. Yeah, thanks for having us here this afternoon. We have a number of projects that we'll talk through today. My name is Dan Mann. We'll try to get through these as efficiently as possible. We have projects really scattered around the city of St. Charles, 6 in total, 5 new projects, and 1 project overage that I think is a separate agenda item. If it pleases the board, we can discuss it now, or we can come back up and discuss it at a later time. The first project that we wanted to talk about today is the one that you heard a lot of speakers here. And really, before we get into the technical aspects of this project, I really wanted to just take a step back and think about, really the guiding principles of the County Road Board. Really, the projects that we bring before you, the main goals are to support the state system and provide, parallel routes to get folks efficiently between, larger state routes within all of the municipalities in St. Charles County. And in the process of doing that, to enhance development in all of our cities. And really, this project is kind of the logical next step and next result of us all doing a good job. So, it's really easy to look at this project and say, well, yeah, we connected Convention Center Boulevard, so now there's more traffic coming down the street, and that's definitely a huge part of it. But we're also rebuilding Highway 94 to get people more efficiently up near the Friedens Road end. We've reconstructed Arena Parkway. We're in the process of designing and going to rebuild South Fifth Street. So there's all this really successful road infrastructure that's supporting this increase in traffic, and unfortunately the increase in crashes that are corresponding to that, and also just a huge amount of development. The Friedens Fairgrounds Road is sandwiched kind of directly in between South River Road and Highway 94. It's at the intersection of a collector and a minor arterial road. As you heard here tonight, there's been a lot of crashes that have occurred. We started seeing a real uptick in 2022, a few years after the connection of Convention Center, and when people started putting more miles on their cars post-COVID, we started seeing more accidents. We saw 8 in 2022. There's Sight distance at the intersection is adequate, barely. It's just kind of at the outer bounds, per AASHTO guidance. But the issue is there's a lot of things that clutter that space. There's trees in your sight view. There's a lot of lanes of traffic, and people just lose that traffic, and it results in crashes. And some of those crashes, have been injury crashes. The ADA infrastructure in place out there is really outdated. It needs to be upgraded. And we do anticipate that this area is going to continue to see upgraded volumes because of the various developments surrounding this, River Point certainly among those. Currently, the city is building a new fire station on the northeast corner, and we'll get into a little more details on that here in a few minutes. So, what's the solution for solving the issues that you heard from several members of the public tonight? We think the solution is a signal. We've gone through the signal warrants. It is a warranted signal based off of volumes and crashes experienced, and also with the connectivity of the surrounding signal network. One of the tricky things about this intersection is that it's a little bit harder than just adding traffic signals. It's a 4-lane road. There's no center turn lane or anything out there today. So, in looking at this, our first thought was we'll install a signal and not really touch any of the hardscape. Upon further consideration, we think there's significant risk of conflicting traffic movements if we leave a through and left turn lane in a combined lane. So we're proposing separating out and adding a left turn lane on Friedens Road. And to kind of orient you here, Friedens Road is the one that's going left to right on your screen here. So this project would widen out the pavement, give us that additional width to add that left turn lane, also add in the signal equipment, and very importantly add the pedestrian crosswalks that you've heard about tonight. You can see here on the upper right hand corner, the northeast corner, that's the location of the city's new fire station that we're building. And tonight I've asked Assistant Chief Brown to come just to explain that fire station's operation is really unique and something that frankly as engineers we don't deal with every day. And situating it next to a signal kind of poses its own challenges but also benefits, and I thought it might be best to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Good evening, I'm Deputy Chief Brown, City of St. Charles Fire Department. In January, we started a $5.5 million investment in a public safety facility at the corner of Friedens and Fairground Road. This facility is being relocated from the current facility down on South Main. That station on South Main currently runs 2,160 calls primary out of that station first in. There are multiple calls that they respond to assist other stations or other responding units. Our study showed that by moving it to Fairgrounds and Friedens Road, we would be able to pick up an additional 400 to 500 calls within a 4-minute response time, making that station a lot more effective to the citizens in the area. So we're anticipating about 2,500 plus calls per year responding out of that station. And as you've heard, there is a limited sight distance coming down Friedens East towards South River Road. Our anticipation is that, with the emergency truck discharging out onto Fairgrounds and having to make a left-hand turn and then onto Friedens, we may see potential accidents or reduced safety for that emergency responding unit. So our hope is that we can get a controlled signal there so that the traffic preemption system that you all supported that is working extremely fantastic would allow us to be able to control that traffic effectively and be able to respond safely.
What's the timeline on your fire station?
It is scheduled to open the end of December of this year.
There's actually a photo of it up here. I should have put it on that slide while you were speaking, but yeah, of the construction underway.
It's there.
Yep. So as far as funding, this is a project we are requesting an 80-20 split in the funding from the county, and we're estimating the entire project upgrades with the hardscape is going to be just under $1.5 million. The next project we have before the County Road Board tonight is the Fox Hill Road rehabilitation project. This project will stretch between just short of Boshertown Road down to North Randolph Street. This is on the north end of town, just north of Missouri Route 370. Fox Hill Road is one of our worst condition roads still left in the city that's not under design or construction to be replaced or rehabilitated. Has a PCI ranging from 40 to 60. I think our pacer was 4.25 out of 10. So there's severe alligator cracking throughout, lots of rutting. It's kind of right on the sweet spot where we think we can still save it. We think we can save it with a mill and overlay. So that's what we're proposing to do here. We're proposing a mill and overlay of the entire roadway section, along with filling in missing gaps of sidewalk that are prevalent throughout the corridor. The mill and overlay, in the course of doing that, we want to come back and restripe it a little differently than it is today. It's currently really wide. There's very, very little parking on the road, which causes kind of this big open pavement effect that has a lot of people speeding up and down the road. We're going to propose adding some edge line striping to help drive those speeds down. Also give a little bit more buffer to pedestrians on the sidewalk or maybe cyclists on the road. So we'll neck those lanes down to 11 feet and stripe that parking lane along the sides, fill in those gaps with 5-foot sidewalk. This project is federally funded at 80% federal funds through this round's STPS funding. We are requesting an 80-20 split on the remaining funds. The total project is right at $1 million. The next project is the Hawks Nest Loop Ramp. This is a project that the city's been coordinating with the county as part of the I-70 outer road improvements. There's been, I think, a lot of changes, Amanda, that's probably a safe way to put it, throughout the design build process with MoDOT. And looking at that, there's been some changes to the north outer road system and kind of what the preferred concepts would be there. This past round, Amanda's team applied for federal funding for the north outer road system. This project is kind of a connection to that. It's a connector road to that north outer road to provide connectivity up to Hawks Nest from that outer road system. So it would be on the northeast corner of Hawks Nest Road and Interstate 70. And it would kind of come up near the church on that quadrant of that overpass and provide connectivity from the outer road to Hawks Nest. This project does have some difficulties to it that makes it a little bit more of a costly project. So there's a significant grade difference between that north outer road and the Hawks Nest overpass that's going to necessitate the use of retaining walls. Part of the reason that we're going to have to use retaining walls is that there's obviously not a big open field on that corner. We're eating into a parking lot, so we're trying to keep that footprint really tight. So there's limited and probably difficult right-of-way constraints there, along with some retaining walls that are going to be required that make this a little bit more costly. The total project to construct this loop ramp is just over $2.3 million, and the city is requesting an 80-20 split with the county. The Main Street project is the Main Street extension project in the city is one that we've brought before you before, and it's one that's really important to the city. The last time that we brought this project before you last year, the County Road Board agreed to participate in the funding of the design through the ACF facility to reestablish the grid network on the north end of St. Charles. Some really important things have happened and have progressed since that time. So the city has moved forward with getting North Main Street functionally classified, which is a really big step to allow us to pursue federal funding. In the past, we have not been able to pursue federal funding because it was not on that functional classification route. This year, I guess maybe before I get into that, I'll give a quick refresher of what the project consists of. Just north of Clark Street, Main Street terminates into the ACF facility. This project, as you may remember, would extend Main Street kind of through the narrow corridor, through the American Car Foundry property, and tie in to North 2nd Street near Montgomery Street, as well as reestablishing some of the cross-street connections along the way. It's designed to be a really walkable corridor, but also provide some on-street parking and other things to activate this area to allow for the redevelopment. The city applied this year for federal STP funding for this project, and unfortunately we were not successful on the federal application this year. But we received some early feedback from East West Gateway on that application, and their thought was that it was a really good fit for the federal TAP program, which is open now, and we're working on an application to submit in July. So this project funding sheet is probably a little bit different than the ones in your binders this afternoon, and it's kind of modified to fit that new idea and that new pursuit that the city's planning to chase after. I will point out that none of the city utilities or undergrounding or anything else is being requested for County Road Board funds. There are some kind of standard utility relocations and right of way we are requesting funding for, but all those decorative type items we're not requesting matching funds. The total project is a really large project for us. It's estimated at $8 million, and we're requesting a total of 44% reimbursement from the county, with the city participating in almost 25%, and then our federal TAP application will request the maximum $2.5 million, which works out to 31%.
Do you have any developer or development plan for this, or are you just going to build the road?
Yeah, it is sort of a chicken and egg thing where developers do want to see progress on having a road, planned and progress moving forward on a road in order for them to pull the trigger. We are really far down the line with several developers that are very excited about this. We have multifamily developers. We have an entertainment developer that's on the north end of this project that's working through their development process now. But I think what the feedback that we've received is they want to see progress that it's going to be possible to get a road through this facility, and that's a difficult enough endeavor, frankly, that difficulty to them means risk. And right now the development is still moving forward, but folks are moving away from projects that have excessive risk. We're trying to solve some of that risk for them with this project.
But wouldn't you see this as being more of an economic development project? Therefore, you would have a developer versus the other way around? I mean, this is not a connector. This is not, congestion mitigation. This is virtually a new road.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of other projects that are done from an economic development, it makes great sense, but we're doing it before a developer right away. I mean, if most of that's going to the ACF people, or Jim Unger or whoever, we're improving his whole footprint. We're gonna pay $1 million for that? Me personally, I'm not speaking,
Understood.
but I mean, but it's just a lot of money for the hopes that we would get development. And again, I'd love to see that property be redeveloped, without a doubt, so.
And I think that feedback's helpful for us. If there's, I think, we've heard some of the feedback in the past on this project. I think if there's specific things like that, the right of way in particular being something hard to kind of stomach, I guess. I think that's something that the city would be willing to foot that bill or maybe take on that additional cost if that's non-starter for the road board. But I guess the main takeaway for this project is that our conversations with developers is that they want to see progress and they want to see this project moving forward before they jump in with both feet. But your point's well
But
taken.
typically, if there was a developer, they wouldn't be withholding right away. They'd want to see it go
Sure.
forward, so they would, in addition to maybe the federal, you'd have a developer column there too, and then obviously we're just sharing, and instead of 44, maybe it's less than that. But
Sure.
I appreciate you listening.
Yeah, absolutely. The final new project that we'll talk about tonight is the South Point development. This is kind of an interesting one that was, I had some learning as we were, as this development's kind of kicked off and we've started to wrap our heads around it. Back in 2009, and as part of the, Page extension really, being built out, the county and city worked on several different studies to try to kind of master plan what these areas around 364, could or should look like. In 2009, there was a study commission that looked at this corner in particular called the Arena Parkway Page Planning District. And it looked at, all of these large swaths of land and said, yeah, these areas are very developable, but what are the challenges that we're gonna face, and what requirements and what things should we make sure we do in order to develop these properly. This corner in particular, and this screenshot here is directly out of that study, looked at Himsath Road and said that offset T intersection combined with this new Page extension is not compatible. There's going to be too many conflicting traffic movements, and the access into and out of the site isn't going to work and isn't going to be safe. So they recommended the S that you see there on the top of the screen is their legend for a proposed signalized access. So they thought that at that time that we should realign Himsath Road. I think in the study maybe they targeted the year 2020, so we're a few years late, but we do have a developer now that would like to develop this corner. This corner of Himsath Road and Page is really a heavy retail establishment that has the potential to garner large amounts of sales tax revenue. There's a gas station planned, a coffee shop, car wash, an urgent care, and some office space that would build out this corner. This project would take Old Himsath Road from its current alignment immediately adjacent to Route 364, and it would have kind of a reverse curve, and it would realign it to align directly across from Himsath Road on the west side. So to pop back over, it would realign it exactly where that S is, where it says there should be a signalized access, so that there's only one Himsath Road and Arena Parkway intersection. This project would install new sidewalks, it would install a signal, and the 1,000 feet of road to realign Himsath. This project does have private development participation in it, quite a lot actually. There's no request for any utilities, any right of way, anything else. The only request here is for construction dollars. The request from the city is 44% participation from the county and 55% from the private developer. The total project cost is just under $2.9 million. Then our final project that we wanted to discuss was the project overage for Boshertown Road. This project has kind of a long history, but we originally brought this before the road board in 2018. So it's been a lot of years since we first anticipated doing this project. We have federal dollars in it, we have county road board dollars, but the economy's changed, inflation's kind of gone nuts. And we still see a huge benefit to doing this project. But when we first got bids, the first round of bids that came back was around $6.9 million. Just kind of an insane inflation, and the city didn't have the ability to move forward with that project at that cost. And we had heard from contractors that we thought costs may come down if we waited and rebid the project. We waited just under a year. We did rebid the project, and that patience did pay off. So the original bid was around 6.9 million. The second bid was just over $5.4 million. So there was significant savings in waiting and rebidding the project. That total $5.47 million, that included some water work and some stormwater work that was associated with the roadway. But the city was able to find, to identify stormwater funds to cover some of the overages to reduce our ask to you tonight. But there was still $844,000 in just plain straight roadway overages that we were looking at covering, and we're requesting a 50-50 split in those overages, which amounts to $422,000.
Can you go
That's
back
it.
to MSAT?
Yes, sir.
As far as the cost breakdown,
Yes, sir.
any reason the city's not shouldering some of that, or just, I mean, normally there's just an 80-20 split or something like that.
Yeah, I would say in this case, this is something that we've been working with the developer, and they're comfortable, shouldering that cost. So, we think that's appropriate. If they're willing to shoulder that cost, they would.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. If there's not any other questions, that's all I have for you this afternoon.
Any questions? Thank you very much for
Yes,
the
sir.
presentation.
Thank you.
City of St. Peters?
Good evening. Amanda Rich with the City of St. Peters, here to present our projects for this round. We have 5 projects that we have applied for. There we go. First project, Willett Road culvert replacement. This is only for right-of-way construction. We're already working through the design, with the designer right now. The location is between Spencer Road and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. Anybody that's driven well out knows it goes basically from Mid-Rivers Mall Drive all the way to Jungerman. It's a very busy east-west route for the city, kind of a reliever for Mexico Road. The existing condition is basically the concrete pipes are failing. Joints are separated, got a lot of infiltration. We've tried doing some patching over time, and we're just to the point where we need to replace it. Currently, not enough capacity in those pipes to handle the amount of water that's flowing through there. There's 2 72-inch RCP pipes, and the design is proposing to put in 2 8-foot by 6-foot box culvert pipes. So, project scope is to remove and replace. Remove that RCP and install some concrete box culverts. Remove and replace the concrete roadway above, obviously, the sidewalk above, and then to repair some of the eroded creek bank slope. This project actually does extend further down the creek, but the scope of this is just for the area right there within the roadway right away. Our stormwater folks would pick up the remaining portion further downstream. So, again, performance measures to replace the failed RCP with box culvert, provide the appropriate capacity for the creek, stabilize the bank, and then with the project, a benefit is we'll provide a connection from the existing bike lane on Willott Road to the multi-use path that's over on the north side of the roadway, kind of like slip ramp sort of deal to get on and off the sidewalk there. And then to provide, reestablish that ADA compliant pedestrian path on top. We're proposing an 80-20 split for the construction and right of way. Again, we're wrapping up design here this year, so we'd like to move right into right of way and then straight into construction right afterwards. For a total project cost about $940,000. Second project is the Mexico Road stabilization. This is for design only. We've applied for this previously and we've been unsuccessful. We've applied for TAP funds previously also and been unsuccessful. Basically, Mexico Road between First Executive Avenue and Jungerman Road, the south side of the roadway is starting is getting pretty close to sloughing off into the creek. You can see here, there's no sidewalk or anything. We've filled it multiple times. It just continues to erode, and we're concerned that we're going to lose one of the lanes on Mexico Road, which could be really, really detrimental to traffic flow in St. Peters. So, the project would install a wall basically down into the creek bank into the channel, put a fence on top of the wall, run sidewalk along that, and then put some guardrail along the frontage for safety purposes. This would stabilize the roadway and the channel bank, increase safety. It's going to provide a pedestrian path in a location that we don't have one today, in order for kids that are coming from the high school to go to Walgreens or the gas station. They have to cross the road and go down, and if they want to go CVS, cross back over again. So, or walk in the road or in the rock, or possibly fall into the creek, maybe. Hopefully not, but. So yeah, this will provide an ADA compliant path, a continuous path between those two intersections, and then upgrade the guardrail to meet current standards. If you look in this picture, some of that guardrail is just hanging on by a thread there. I'm not really sure it's going to do its job if someone were to hit it with a vehicle, so pretty concerning. Again, this is an 80-20 split for design. We're estimating about $150,000 for design. Third project is the I-70 North Outer Road Connector Study between 79 and Main Street. There is currently, obviously no connection between the two. At one point, there was a bridge in this area. Long time ago, that bridge was removed way before me. So there's really no connection. If you want to go from our Main Street area over to 79, you kind of go out C and then down Salt River Road and around. But anybody that lives in this area has to go all the way out and around, or this area here. And so this will provide that connection there. Again, just you can see a little closer, was a bridge there at one point. So, and this doesn't seem to be an area that MoDOT's really been interested in. So we'd like to pursue moving forward with this. The idea of the study is to determine the appropriate alignment. Maybe that's not the right spot to just put a bridge in. We don't know. We'd like to look into that. We want it to be the least impactful to any businesses and residences, and then of course obviously be the most cost effective for everyone. We think that this will decrease delay at 79. It's the 79 interchange, the Mid Rivers interchange, because it'll move some of those local trips that now have to go out to those different areas, be able to use the outer road system. And then create some better access for a few of the businesses over there. And then we would, of course, design it to accommodate any future traffic volumes. And this is an 80-20 split, about a $300,000 design, or study. Fourth project is the Mid Rivers Mall Drive culvert replacement design. This is located on Mid Rivers Mall Drive, south of Mexico Road, but north of Willott, kind of between Grand Teton and Willott. Right next to, there's a Mid Rivers Christian Church, I believe, right there. You can see here, down here is the church parking lot, and then Countryside Drive there. So the existing condition is it floods. Unfortunately, over the last 4 years, we've had 3 or 4 floods where we've had to shut down Mid Rivers Mall Drive. We're in the middle of a design, which is kind of how we came up with this project, is this swale here in front of the church. It overtops also. Well, we thought that the pinch point was actually the driveway, these culverts under the driveway. Well, it turns out that's not true. So we're like halfway through the design for that, and we had to say, hey, time out. We need to fix what the real problem is, and that's actually going under Mid Rivers Mall Drive. So that's what this project is for. There's currently a 4-foot by 12-foot box culvert under there. It handles all this flow here, which is these 3 pipes you can see coming out, and then a large amount of flow coming down from the subdivision there to the east. So this project, again, would design the removal and replacement of the box culvert with, whatever that culvert should be. And of course, remove and replace the roadway above, the sidewalk above, and then adjust any utilities and signal equipment if necessary if we get into that. There are quite a lot of utilities run along the east side of Mid Rivers Mall Drive. So Again, determine the appropriate size, prevent flooding, and prevent future closure of the roadway during these heavy rain events. And this, again, an 80-20 split. We did get an estimate from a designer to be just under $170,000 for the design of this piece. And then our last project is the Harvester Road at Queensborough Boulevard signal replacement project. This intersection is between 364 and McClay Road. Currently, it's a span wire signal. It was installed when 364 construction was going on to help move diverting traffic. It's been in place for years. It's an issue. We often have to have a contractor come out and tighten the tethers because those wooden poles tend to move around quite a bit. So we'd like to get a permanent signal installed here. Another thing to note is, as part of this project, we'd like to tie in some sidewalk here to this subdivision, Sugarwood. There's currently no way to get to and from there without crossing Harvester Road at an unsignalized location that's 3 lanes wide. So it's pretty heavy traffic. So this will be a huge benefit. So remove and replace the signal equipment with permanent metal mast arms. Remove and replace the sidewalk and curb ramps to provide a better pedestrian access. Install that sidewalk up there to Sugarwood. And then install a fiber optic cable connection down Queensbrook to Jungerman and Queensbrook to increase the reliability and communication with the signal through the GGL network. And then install some additional intersection lighting. There's only one light at that whole intersection, so it's pretty dark. So, and like I said, provide an ADA compliant path, decrease our maintenance needs. And again, that's not something we're capable of doing, is going out there and tightening those tethers, so we have to pay a contractor every time. So, and then we'll make sure that we place this equipment on the east side of the road to accommodate a future fourth leg. There are plans to someday develop that property whenever an agreement can be made with that property owner. So, and this, we did receive federal funding for this project, so we got 80% federal funding for all phases. We're moving forward with the design here shortly. So we're asking for 16% county funding, and the city would foot the remaining 4%. So, and I presented them in our order of priority. So, any questions?
What's the life left on the Willout culvert?
It's getting pretty bad. We have to replace that very, very soon. Again, we're getting infiltration through the top, and we've patched it multiple times. I mean, we can patch it and patch it and patch it, but the joints are separating, and it's causing all kinds of erosion around the bank. It's pretty rough. And again, it's not just right there at the road. It continues downstream quite a bit that we need to do a lot of repairs. It's actually exposed some of our utilities downstream. It's eroded so bad. So.
That culvert's pretty much undersized.
Yeah, and it's undersized. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna go from 272-inch concrete pipes to 8 by 6 culvert pipes. So big difference in the amount of capacity it can handle. So, answer your question? Okay. I don't have an exact number. I'm sorry. 2 years. We got to do this project. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. Any questions?
On the mid-rivers, are you going to need to look downstream of that culvert?
So, I didn't mention this, but we actually have another project that is partially designed downstream that we're going to wrap up that design there, wrap up the design in front of the church, and then we just got this little gap in between that we need to hit. So, yeah. Yep. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So obviously, item number 6 was presented. Amanda, you want to talk about that and talk about staff recommendation?
Yes. Am I on there? Yes, I'm on there. Okay. Yes, so it was presented, like Dan said, they did go back and do a second bid, based on kind of what we were seeing with bids coming in very, very big previously. That is getting a little better, and they did do a little better, and, are anxious to proceed with the project. So, Yes, we do recommend funding the overages at 50%. We still are doing okay with our budget, and we have our 10 million in economic development sitting as a extra if we need to get into those funds. That's kind of what we've talked about internally for doing for, we haven't had to dip into any economic yet this year, so, and we usually don't do 10 million a year, so we might have a little flexibility there.
And if people haven't been out there, that Orchard Farm School's up out of the ground.
Yes.
I mean, it's gonna be a factor right there also, whereas before, the other side of B was wide open, just farmland. I mean, I think it's a high school. I mean, it's more than underway. I mean, it's up out of the ground. I don't know when that's gonna come online, but that's part of, I think, that redirect to kind of go away from 94. And I would guess tie into a four-way intersection with the high school, I would think. Sorry. I mean, it's definitely another factor that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it doesn't tie in directly across from the high school, but you hit the nail on the head. Its primary benefit is by giving some more separation from that intersection to the Highway B and 94 intersection. And we're expecting to see a huge increase in student traffic at dismissal time going that way. So yeah, it's not directly across from the high school entrance. That's a little bit further to the west from here, but it'll have a lot of good benefits.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll also note that we're still only in at 1.4 million, and the total project cost or participating cost is 3.8. So I mean, we're still doing pretty well on this project as a county, adding our funds in, and the city is paying exactly the same. So,
How much money do we have to appropriate for projects this year?
That's a really good question. So I just kind of started pulling out the spreadsheet numbers today. We look really good for 2025, 26, 2026 especially. Next year could be tight. So I think, and we have a lot of requests for either, construction, trying to move it ahead early, or just design. So I'll be having some discussions with the cities to talk about, hey, do you have anything that you think is going to be delayed a year or two? Are you, really thinking this is going to happen? I'm going to do that with my own stuff that's on there. So I just kind of really need to look at how those numbers even out for next year. That's always the case every time, because that's supposed to be the case. But we're looking like we could fund another 20-ish million if.
Without touching economic development?
Yes. Yep.
Because last year, we were talking like zero.
Yeah, no, we're somehow coming out ahead. We got, Spencer Road, Project Smile, the Amazon facility did not use our 1.2 million in economic development, so we have that back. We've had kind of a few things that have kind of come back around, so, yeah. And projects are starting to come in a little more close to what we're estimating, so we're getting back there.
Are we anticipating roughly 40 million in tax revenue for this fiscal year?
I think it's like 36. Yeah. I can check on that by the time we have the work session. I should have an estimate. I have not checked with finance, but I'll do that.
Well, it all hinges down when Kelly gets the spreadsheet finished up.
So what's the road board's pleasure on item number 6?
Make a motion to approve the 422, 340.
Second.
Discussion?
Where was all the money spent, the extra money? Is it all just in construction?
Yes.
It was all construction costs.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion passes. At this time, is there any new business before the board this evening?
was I gonna mention? Like we said, federal funding are back. I guess on the North Outer Road project, the Hawks Nest, we can talk more about it later, but, we did put in as a county application for CMAQ funds on the North Outer Road itself and did get recommended for $3 million. So that was another one where we're holding, $7 million for our share after a cost share with MoDOT. So we got $3 million from there, and then we got a refund from MoDOT for the 6470 study that we had paid for previously. So they just gave us our money back because they're moving forward on the project. So
How much was that?
that was $1 million. So we have some of that back, and obviously that recommendation is really good. So that Hawks Nest application is kind of just filling the rest of that amount. And then the other thing, Crestview Extension application has been withdrawn because they did not receive federal funds. So we're gonna do some other things and bring that back next year. And Route N design, I just wanted to let you all know that MoDOT is about to select a designer probably here in the next week or so, and work on, getting a scope and fee. So that project should be underway and designed later this summer. So we are moving forward with that, and it's hopefully gonna get some funding someday and we'll be good to go. So
Okay.
I think that's it.
Obviously, other business in the email discussed that our normal third Wednesday meeting, we've got quite a few conflicts, so we need to set a work session date. Will we do that 2 months typically? We do it in June and July, or?
So typically, we do it in June, and then we do the regular meeting in July, and then we skip August. I feel like last year we did the work session in June, skipped July, and did the recommendation in August. So this year, I'm gonna say we skip June, do the work session in July. Hopefully, I'll have you guys very nice compiled information about all the projects and what we're looking at before we get to that work session, because I have a little more time. And then we'll do the August meeting to do our recommendation.
On the normal planned third
Yes,
Wednesday?
on the normal dates,
Which
yes.
is July 19th.
Yes, yep. So
That good with
June would be a
everybody?
a skip.
So no meeting June.
No
More
meeting
than
in
likely won't be
June.
there. That's my week in July, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Most everybody else, if you do find the conflicts, just get back on an email or something so we can just head that off, but I don't know that you can pick any date on the calendar, probably end up being conflicts.
Somebody's gonna,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, so we'll basically punt in June and plan on July, and then figure we'll vote on it in August and then send it to the county council
Yep,
with what we're recommending.
yep, that'll be the plan.
Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Any other business for this evening? I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Easiest motion we do. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Congress, if you don't want to